Good morning, YouTube. Hi there, what's up? It's me, Deek Jackson, with another edition of What the Fucking Papers Say on September the 5th, 2020. Today's newspaper, I couldn't resist this. It's the Morning Star, a vestige of a communist newspaper, which used to sell quite well in Britain, actually, once upon a time. But now they are remarketing themselves not as communist, good morning, Alan, but as socialist. And their strapline says, Morning Star, for peace and socialism. Nin Hersag, Ollie, Ollie, Ollie. But in fact, I think the Morning Star's strapline should say, The Morning Star, for pish and labelism. Because after reading the newspaper, one of the overriding senses I was left with was that the journalism in this paper is full of name-calling. Thanks for the offer, man. Pint and a curry sounds good. Labelism. The journalism in this paper is full of name-calling. I mean, labelism, I don't know if I made that word up, but it sounds like it should be a word. This paper just calls people names. And in fact, it seems to be a disease of the left, if you like. You're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're a misogynist, you're a Man, it's just an endless stream of vomiting name-calling. Is nobody just a human? Is nobody just a person with the right to hold the views that they hold and behave the way that they behave, irrespective of your political views or the prism through which you see the world? And the headline paper is just, a gigantic example of that. The headline reads, Anti-fascists prepare to defend Dover. Anti-racist, it changes its lexicon almost immediately. Anti-racist campaigners are preparing to muster in Dover in solidarity with refugees against far-right thugs. Far-right thugs, eh? Get off the fence. What do you really think? Fascist groups said they intend to take over Dover today by blocking the port with a motorcade in protest against refugees crossing the channel. Now, just for some perspective, later in this rag, there's a story about the heroic Extinction Rebellion protesters trying to shut down a bridge in London. But it doesn't call them fascist groups trying to take over or block anything. It calls them, nice people who are simply exercising their right of protest. Methinks the lady doth protest too much, or methinks the people who write this are hypocritical scum. They really are. This paper is full of a hypocrisy about your freedoms and your rights as individuals. Honestly, if I want to go down to Dover and, stop people landing on the beach in their rubber dinghies, and you want to go there and stop people stopping people landing in their dinghies, what's the need for name-calling? Why not just write, some people went to the beach today to protest against people landing on the beach in rubber dinghies. Other people went to protest against the protesters. The name-calling is simply divisive, ugly, and intellectually bankrupt. Just like the left wing in the current world, I feel. Really, it is. So, groups muster against far-right anti-migrant rally. And so this is a story, let's do the journalism. This is a story about fascist groups, I'll just use their lexicon, intending to take over Dover by blocking the port. However, Joe Mulhall, organising the counter-demonstration, said they believed the threat was lessened due to a number of groups pulling out due to poor organisation. A few days ago, we were concerned they might all turn out, but the latest intelligence we have is that it's been very badly organised. In fact, nobody knows who's organising it. In fact, it may not be organised at all. In fact, it might not happen. And so this entire front page might just be a load of pish. Really. More or less in the first paragraph, they admit that. But then they go on to name a whole group of people. It's unclear who has organized the demonstration, open brackets, or whether one actually exists or ever existed, except in the imagination of the Morning Star. However, Mr. Mulhall said a number of groups, including the neo-Nazi hooligans Pie and Mash. It sounds so nice. How can those people be bad? I like Pie and Mash. Oh no, Pie and Mash are coming. What about fish and chips? Are fish and chips coming? What about fucking, rhubarb and custard? Are rhubarb and custard coming? The evil fascist right-wing group Rhubarb and Custard coming to mete out racial justice on the beaches of Kent. Anyway, there are more people. The Fascist Patriotic Alternative and the British Street Commanders could attend, it qualifies, meaning that they're not coming. They've never said they're coming, and no such thing will ever happen. They intend to play Vera Lynn, a signifier of our battle against fascism in World War II, which they have co-opted for their own aims to spread hate. I thought we fought World War II to liberate Poland from the Germans. Most veterans that served in World War II would be spitting in their graves to think of Vera Lynn being used for this. Don't let them intimidate us, they said, as they went down the beach to intimidate people. And so this whole story is, of course, about people, refugees, taking inflatable boats across the channel to land in Britain. Now, I would just like to say a couple of things about migration in Britain, because I checked the figures. 280,000 immigrants per year land in Britain at airports. Flyy things. They fly in. They're big metal birds. They land at airports. They get off. They show their passport. They come into the country. They open a kebab shop. 280,000. They go down the NHS and apply to be a porter. 280,000 so far this year. 1,500 people in rubber boats. 9/11 was a success. I see what you did there. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. So, if Pie and Mash or Rhubarb and Custard want to really sort the immigrants out, they need to get themselves to an airport where the big stuff is happening. And if the anti-fascists, who are actually fascists themselves, have a problem with people's free will, then surely that makes them the fascists? I mean, if you don't like what's happening and you go to protest about it, just like Extinction Rebellion, who we'll be reading about later in the paper, are our heroes. What the fuck? What a load of pish and labelism. And the labelism doesn't end with showering approbation and criticism and, labeling people you're opposed to. The labeling goes on for people you support. Activists set to target arms dealer, not racist thugs, not fascist far right, not violent protesters, activists. See the difference there? If the Morning Star likes what you're doing and you go somewhere and you block the road and you throw stones at people and throw paint and stuff like that, you're an activist rather than a violent thug. Campaigners will protest today outside the London headquarters of Israel's biggest private arms firm, Elbit Systems. Elbit Systems make the drones. 80% of Israeli Army and Air Force drones are made by Elbit Systems, 85% in fact by the military, and they're used in daily surveillance and attacks on Gaza. Palestine Action, a new group, has launched a series of actions targeting the offices, including splattering red paint and scrolling "Shut Elbit Down." Obviously a heroic action there, rather than any kind of antisocial, violent thuggery. I mean, I actually support campaigning against the arms trade. I don't think killing people is the way forward on planet Earth. And nor do I think that spying on us from the sky or dropping bombs on people and killing them in extrajudicial assassination is legitimate in any way at all. Shower of hypocrites make the lockdown rules. That's not the headline, that's what I'm saying. This headline says, shower of hypocrites breach lockdown rules. Boris Johnson was labelled a hypocrite after it emerged he broke his own lockdown rules. And there you have it. Boris Johnson was labelled a hypocrite. They couldn't be more, in your face and obvious. They're more or less not only admitting, but vouching for their own actions. They are labelling him a hypocrite. I can think of many more things that Boris Johnson is. I like a bit of name calling, but I would call it name calling. He's a fat wanker. He really is. He's a fat establishment wanker who's got his nose so far up the Queen's gusset, the pussy juice is dribbling down the back of his throat. That's probably why he's fat, because the Queen's pussy juice has got high calories. What a shameless shower this lot of hypocrites are, she added, Labour's deputy leader Angela Rayner. Of course, she's not a hypocrite herself in any way whatsoever. And so, yeah, the lockdown rules, which obviously at the moment in Britain say that you can't have a gathering of more than 30 people, even if you want to protest against the lockdown rules. See how that works there? And so yeah, 50 people in a room, that would seem to contravene the law. If only we could make citizens' arrests. Wouldn't it be great if a law came out where you could arrest, say, the police who weren't wearing masks? Because I see a lot of police and they're never wearing masks anywhere. Perhaps I could wrestle them to the ground, stick a spit hood on them and choke them to death. Wouldn't that be fun? Not. Small bit of Scottish news. I tell you, one of the reasons I got this paper is because it's not a Scottish edition, and I was hoping there would just be international news. But no, there's some Scottish news. And it's about the Scottish Labour leader, Richard Leonard, and who is backed by unions. Unions back Leonard after attempted putsch. It's a Russian word for violent overthrow, which seems unlikely in the Scottish Labour Party. Richard Leonard is a man of great integrity and high ideals, said union organiser Kevin Lindsay. Open brackets, he's also a former union organiser, former union leader, and wholly supports union activity and union control over the Labour Party. Labour. It's in the name, the Labour Party, if you like that sort of thing. Labour, it's in the name. They're the party for people who want you to work. I support the organisation. I support workers' organisations, or the right for workers to organise. My favourite kind of worker organisation is all the workers get together to figure out how they can stop fucking working. That's my favourite kind of worker organisation. If I was a worker, I would be saying to the other workers, hey, guys, is there any way we could not do this? Sleepy shoegazer, good morning. That's my favourite kind of organisation. Whereas what the Labour Party want to do is get you a slightly longer tea break and some safety shoes so you can go on working. It's funny that, isn't it? Here we go again. Bigoted ex-Australian PM gets government trade job. I covered yesterday that Tony Abbott was on a shortlist for people to become a trade advisor to the UK in a post-Brexit world. He's actually got the job. The Morning Star says he's a bigoted ex-Australian PM. It doesn't mention here that he sucked the cock of China to the tune of 100 billion for Australia's trade deal. It doesn't mention that at all. I imagine the Morning Star would be quite happy to suck some Chinese communist cock because they allege to be socialist, and so do the Chinese people. His views on homosexuality, including his admission he feels threatened by the LGBT community. I should just like to address that. I'm just sort of blue sky thinking here, but do you know when women are walking down a dark street alone and they pass a group of men and they suddenly shudder in fear that maybe the men are thinking of sticking their dick in them? That maybe some men have the same fear about gay men. Just a thought that it might actually be genuinely okay for men to worry that other men are thinking about penetrating their anus. Just a thought. Just conjure with that. Because I'm a big fan of free will, and if you don't like certain things, then you don't like them. You're not homophobic necessarily, you just wouldn't like that for yourself. Just like a woman might not like being penetrated by your dick. Just a thought. Activists slam Met over arrests. Here's the story. Again, the Extinction Rebellion people are activists. They haven't indulged in anything unpleasant, according to the labels used to describe them. 200 of them were arrested when they were on the bridge. This is their ineffective protest. They were planning to force the government to its knees and get it to concede to their demands by having a disruptive cycle. Is there anything more wanky and middle class than that? Answers on a postcard, please, to I don't really give a fuck. Crackpot Tory temperature plan slammed by union. This is a plan by the Tories to have the staff on London Underground take your temperature to try and find out if you have the coronavirus. And as I covered yesterday, the government have more plans than that. They have plans for army checkpoints and mass testing. What happens to you should you test positive for the coronavirus has yet to be described or disclosed by the government. But I would imagine it's got nothing to do with you going on your way. Yes, sir, it appears you have coronavirus. Thank you. It's nice. We're compiling some data for the whole country. We just wanted to know how many people have got the coronavirus. On your way, sir. Thank you. Thank you for stopping. I don't think that's what the government have got planned. Greek Foreign Minister Nikos Stenidis headed to New York yesterday for talks with the UN over Turkey's illegal activity in the Mediterranean. This is a potential hotspot right in the democratic seat of civilization, the Mediterranean, where Turkey and Greece are conducting military exercises over Turkey's exploration for gas and oil reserves in disputed territory. And it really is quite a touchy situation, with battleships and aircraft practicing dogfights and live fire exercises around the disputed area. And Greece and Turkey have got form as far as battling it out when Cyprus, which is now split down the middle, was invaded by one or the other. I can't remember who did what. I think the Turks parachuted in and invaded Cyprus and took some of the land from Greece, but do feel free to correct me if it's the other way around. And the interesting thing about it is Greece. Greece was nearly bankrupted and nearly left the European Union. One of the reasons it was nearly bankrupted was because the Germans coerced them into outfitting their army, navy and air force with huge contracts for arms that the Greek people didn't really need, and massive infrastructure contracts that the Greek people didn't really need. So the Greeks are heavily tooled up with Leopard tanks from Germany, NATO aircraft, and lots of other, really good stuff. Whereas Turkey is heavily armed by Russia. So it'll be a nice little proxy war there in the Med, something to look forward to, like a video game that's coming out for Christmas. Greece versus Turkey. Out now. All right, police use chemical spray in clash with anti-racists. Police clashed with anti-racism demonstrators, dousing them with chemical spray and irritants to drive them away. This is about the killing of Daniel Prude, a man who had mental health problems, but had also taken a rather heroic dose of PCP. The Morning Star doesn't mention that, but Daniel was cranked up on PCP when he was arrested. Genuinely, if I was a cop and I was, forced as part of my duties to arrest people cranked up on PCP, you couldn't get a cattle prod long enough to make me feel safe. Really, it's a dangerous job being a policeman. However, I should like to point out that at no point in a rodeo, see in a rodeo where the cowboys wrestle a steer to the ground after they rope it with a lasso, they very seldom choke it to fucking death, really. So I have my questions over police use of force, because since it's not the case that really, really violent wild animals can be wrestled to the ground and successfully restrained by cowboys in the dirt, I feel the police ought to be able They really ought to be able to get a PCP crazy man down on the ground and arrest him without choking him to death. Just a thought. Although perhaps there's room for a kind of police rodeo. And now it's wrestle the PCP nigger to the ground. And here's Sergeant Whiteman. Sergeant Whiteman has won several medals for wrestling niggers to the ground and choking them to death. Here in the pen we got Cletus, who's a raging PCP maniac. And just for good measure, we gave him 2 lines of coke before we let him out. Yeah, how about that for some 21st century television? Cranked up, mad PCP, big gym fans, you know, big, muscly gym fans with coke dribbling out their nostrils. And the policeman has to lasso him, wrestle him to the ground, and choke him to death for our entertainment on television. What would you call that show? Cop nigger rodeo, maybe? Nigger killing cop rodeo? Something like that, I feel. The right wing must stop trying to kill off Scottish Labour. More Scottish news in an alleged international paper. My experience of Scottish Labour is that it's full of social justice warriors who are shooting themselves in the foot and no longer really represent the people of Scotland. They have a kind of myopic, navel-gazing ideology which they think they should force upon the people of Scotland, and the people of Scotland are too stupid to realise it would be good for them. That's my experience of Scottish Labour, and I don't know what the word is, register my interest that I was once in the Labour Party. I joined to vote for Jeremy Corbyn because people didn't want Jeremy Corbyn to be the leader of the Labour Party, and I'm a really annoying person like that. I like to do things people don't want. And when I joined up, they wouldn't let me vote. I fucking paid my dues to join the Labour Party so I could vote Jeremy Corbyn in. And then they said, no, those people who just joined to vote for Jeremy Corbyn, they're not allowed. And so when I received an email saying, "Dear comrade, thanks for joining the Labour Party. Your local group is having a meeting," I went along just to see what it was all about. And it was total pish. The concocted panic over refugees must be fought by the whole left. Yes, it's hard to identify the politics which pitches a squad of far-right activists onto the beaches. I remember they're not actually coming, they're too disorganised, so this is already pish. To confront the desperate souls crossing in rubber boats. Now, if I was desperate when I reached France, I might have a drink of water there. If I was desperate. You know, if I'd escaped from Libya or the Sudan or Afghanistan or Pakistan in desperation, if I was fleeing in some desperate hurry from some real imminent danger, when I got to France, I'd have a drink of water there. Maybe a biscuit and a glass of wine. What they are is economic gamblers. They're gambling their life and safety on the possibility that they might get asylum in Britain, which is an awesome place to live, really, as opposed to France, which smells and is full of rude French people. Why would you want to live there? All right, well, you know, that just about wraps up the pish and bollocks in the Morning Star. Socialism or extinction? Oh dear. I don't think you have the choice. I think climate change is going to kick your ass. Thank you, whoever that was who made a super chat. And thank you all for tuning in. And it's a lovely day here outside Pizza Hut. I can smell them baking their dough. It's not for me, Pizza Hut. It's like eating wallpaper paste. But, you know, whatever. It's a lovely day here. I may go for a busk. Who knows? I may do some other stuff. But I hope you have a great day, because I'm gonna. See you next time.